I'll do the 3, 2, 1 card.
All right, camera's going.
Hello guys, so today we're talking about limitations on standardized tests by Taliya, Milani, Lizzey, Lila, and me. Background information on standardized tests. Some standardized tests, such as the IQ, measures a person's intelligence, and some standardized tests measure success, such as the SAT and the ACT. They basically tell a person if they're going to succeed in college or not. So many colleges rely on that. And yeah. Research question. What uncontrollable factor can lead to low performance on standardized tests?
Our thesis is standardized tests should consider a variety of backgrounds such as race, income, mental disorders, learning disabilities, and high school courses.
This issue matters because it's affecting students' futures and they aren't considering the limitations. Okay. How can schools prepare students for life instead of standardized tests? Standardized testing causes a great deal of stress on both students and teachers. It can even cause a loss of confidence within students. Teachers have begun teaching to the test instead of teaching in a way that will benefit all students. Social skills. We will always be surrounded by people no matter where we are. It is important to learn how to communicate effectively, listen, be open, be a team player, and remain positive when working with others. Students should be taught tolerance and respect. No one should feel unsafe or out of place. Finances. Many adults struggle with their finances. We can try to avoid this by implementing classes that teach taxes, budgeting, and the value of spending wisely. Home economics. Home ec is rapidly disappearing in schools. Home ec teaches you how to cook, sew, take care of children, proper nutrition, cleaning, and more. You will be able to use these skills no matter where you are in life. Not every child has a guardian at home to teach them these skills that can be applied to life. Jobs. Jobs are a huge part of adult life. Schools should teach students how to conduct themselves and dress during interviews. Students should be allowed time to practice writing resumes, simulating interviews, and covering workplace etiquette.
Effects of mood disorders in school. So basically, she's gonna talk about the 501 plan and how it's for like people with bipolar, but then there's other issues that go, mood disorders that go into towards this. So I don't even know if you don't talk about, but that's
So each person is unique and learns and takes in information in their own way. And so tests, like standardized tests, kind of take away that uniqueness of a person because it's basically making everybody take the same exact test and expecting them to be able to put what they know on that test in the same way. So there are 3 types of learners. There's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Visual learners learn better when they can see what they're learning, and that those visual learners perform best on tests, while auditory learn best when they can hear what they're learning, and then kinesthetic is kind of like hands-on learning. And then there's also learning disabilities that can affect how someone learns. So ADHD, ADD, and dyslexia are the 3 main types of learning disorders. They affect how you can take in information and how you perform, like take away like attention. And so these disorders cause you to perform worse on tests. A study by college board said that kids with learning disabilities perform worse than kids without learning disabilities.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how is the SAT affected by race. So according to an author by the name of Christopher Jean, she said that during the segregation period, it was something called a test gap, and this means that blacks tend to score lower than whites. And I just basically focus on, is it still current in the SAT? And the answer is yes. According to the insiders, there is still a huge test gap. As you can see from this graph, many of the blacks and Latinos score in the 900 range, while the Asians and whites score in the 1,000 or above range. And it's a test gap, like I said. And also according to the world.us, many test prep people target many Asians because of their cultural background. So it shows that like many Asian parents like see the SAT as like college acceptance, so they invested in more. And also a study done by David Puritan in the UK, who is a philosopher. He studied the pupils of a student's eye to see text anxiety. So he saw, his findings was that many Asians like and Latinos tend to have text anxiety, but the Asians deal with it better, but Blacks and Latinos don't, and this is causing their scores to go down because they're worried about failing.
Income inequality in the SAT. Many critics of the SAT, such as the nonprofit organization Fair Test, have claimed that the SAT is directly biased towards students of higher wealth. However, these claims are often not backed up by substantial research, and the evidence is either false or biased. Psychology Science recently published a new study on this issue. The study found that the predictive value of the SAT is equally accurate to students of all socioeconomic backgrounds, and does not discriminate against students of different economic backgrounds. The study is evidently a credible source as it gathers its evidence from 3 large data sets, which includes 143,000 diverse students of 110 colleges. However, graphs taken from the College Board showing SAT scores indicate there is a wide gap between students of low and high income. This occurs because education inequality in the public school systems is strictly available to only low-income students. Public schools generally give lesser educational opportunities because of a lack of funding due to property taxes, due to public schools being typically located in poorer neighborhoods. Low-income students have fewer opportunities available because better education costs more to afford. Therefore, though the SAT does not directly discriminate against low-income students, the students whose parents can afford to pay for tutoring in private school are given an unfair advantage, and the SAT needs to take responsibility for this.
So some solutions that the SAT needs to be more aware of the disadvantages of low-income students, and also many colleges should focus on students' grades. So one limitation for many colleges that should focus on student grades is that the SAT and the ACT studies have shown that it does predict a student future toward if they're going to finish college. So that's a limitation. Many colleges probably still going to rely on it because it does predict if a student will or will not finish all 4 years of college. And
The SAT needs to be more aware of the advantages of low-income students to make their tests more fair to different economical backgrounds. In conclusion, the SAT has many advantages and disadvantages, but it caters to a specific type of person and needs to be more flexible with mental and physical diversity.
that's it.
I have some questions for this team.
Okay.
What was our time?
Yeah, what was it?
7:50, I was without the, but I have your individual times.
I didn't
Okay,
see everything
awesome.
that was on my card, actually.
Well, do you want me to say your individual time?
We could do that off tape.
Okay, so it is narrowed down a little bit, but I feel like we still need to go into detail, especially with the solution. Just a little bit. But we
All right.
can figure that out.
So here are our questions for this team. Let me go through and do these. My first one is for Taliya.
Okay.
So Taliya, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem that your group identified?
Okay, so I would say it was Lila's paper, because when we first started going into it, I really thought that the SAT was biased, but it's more so the school system. In Lila's paper, she talks about how school systems aren't getting the equal amount of funding and how some minorities attend schools in low-income neighborhoods and how many whites attend private school, which equals they have a better opportunity of getting a higher score than many minorities. So so Lila's paper basically helped me understand that it's more so of the school system fault why minorities are scoring really low on the test because they're not preparing them, than more so of the SAT. So.
My next question is Lizzie's question. Lizzey, the question for you is I'd like you to give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Mia's findings.
So mine and Mia's research were kind of overlapping because we both studied like mental disorders and how the brain can affect like testing. I think her research into how people with mood disorders, especially like bipolar disorder, aren't accommodated like kids with 504 plans, like ADHD. And that kind of opened my eyes because I went into it thinking that all people like with disorders like could get accommodations how they needed it. And from her research, I found out that it wasn't like allowed for people with mood disorders, and they should be allowed to have those accommodations that they need.
All right, I'm going to skip over Mia's question. Let's go to Lila's question. Lila, what I'd like to ask you about is if you could describe how the content of this team presentation changed as a result of your group discussing.
So initially, for my solution, in my slide, I was talking about how the United States was a big factor of why educational inequality exists. And while that is still true, I wanted to focus more on how the school system affects it, because that is more of a direct, something that directly affects students today, like the school system preparing them for the SATs. So I decided to, instead of focusing on how the United States income inequality issue is a big factor, I decided to focus more on like how schools impact students' grades.
Okay. And then my last one is for Milani. Milani, having finished your team project, what, if anything, do you consider to be a gap in your team's research that if you addressed would make your team feel more confident about your solution or conclusion?
So I think a big gap within our presentation was what I did my research on, because my research was more like what schools should focus on rather than the SAT, but theirs were more focused on like what factors affect their SAT score. So I think maybe if I had focused on a factor as well, like it would have brought it closer together rather than like mine just standing out. And I would be able to have a solution for like the SAT rather than nothing.
Okay, thanks. And that's the team.
Good job.